it's been a while since you've met Adam, because my previous videos have been about infantile Pompe disease, the history behind that, the philosopher who found the diagnosis of Pompe disease. I really hope you enjoyed that video. I do apologise with how sporadic it is. Again, I'm getting better at my scripting and reading the script, but with my dyslexia, it's not great. My husband is the same. He also, in preemptly, disclaimer, going to apologise, because, reading and getting our words out, we do tend to struggle with that, don't we, baby?
Not so much reading, but yeah, getting my words out. I get things jumbled in my head sometimes.
Yeah, which is the whole thing with dyslexia, as me and you have struggled for most of our life with school and stuff. Again, I do apologise for my previous videos that I do struggle specifically with speech, reading, and getting my words out and getting it out constructively for the audience to understand. We are hoping to improve on that as this channel progresses. Thank you for my, I know it's small, but it means a lot. 10 followers, it's amazing. You guys rock. If it wasn't for those even minute amount, you guys are awesome. You're helping support the channel. So this episode is going to be about being a dad, because I feel like starting that conversation and that whole I feel like the world's starting to be a little bit more open-minded with the father figure of the rights that it has, and they're starting to move away from the stereotypical deadbeat dad. As a female myself, I'm quite open-minded with not having that stigma of just, oh, you're a man. The stereotypical is what men have been, some men, not all men nowadays, have been scrutinised, and it still is happening, I would say, but there's now also starting the conversations of that stigma being challenged now, of being deadbeat dad, all that. So the questions I'd like to ask my husband before we met, before our dynamic came in, I'd like to talk about our kind of, and previous lives before we came as we are, because obviously we were parents before we met each other, weren't we? Yeah. So we talk a lot about motherhood, but I'd like to also share that not many, only my experience as a mother and a woman, but also the men who are dads, called Seren, who was born premature. How was that? That would have been scary.
So yeah, she wasn't massively premature, but she was a couple of weeks early, and she was on the low side on the weight and her blood sugars. In my head, and I've seen pictures since, and she wasn't this small, but in my head, I used to be able, she was the size of my palm. Mm-hmm. Now, I did used to just hold her with one palm against my shoulder, and I used to call her my little shoulder monkey, because she always used to just fall asleep on my shoulder. So that was nice, but the first night was, I think it was scary for me and the mum at the time, because basically she had an NG tube in, which you've seen. I don't know if your audience is aware of, but basically it's a tube that goes into the nose and then down the back of the throat in order to make sure that they can get food into their system. Now, I've never really done anything that medically in depth in my life at that point, so...
Did you just say magic?
Medically in depth in my life at that point. So that was... Sorry, I'm trying to talk louder because I got told off because apparently I'm too quiet.
He is quiet.
So I'm going to talk like this from this point on.
He has to. He's too quiet.
So she had this tube in, and we couldn't hold her because she was in a little incubator, and she's not the smallest baby in the world. She wasn't massively under, but night one, your baby gets taken straight off you. They get put into this separate room, and you get told that they might not be able to come home for the next couple of days.
Yeah.
Now, that's quite
quite
scary, quite terrifying.
Yeah.
We spoke to the hospital, and basically the hospital agreed to let me stay as well as mum, so that we could monitor them and
support the mum as well.
That night we must have checked her every hour, and in the morning they said, yeah, you can go home, which was brilliant news. So the blood sugars were normal, they've got no concerns, go home.
Still would have been nerve-wracking, because obviously when you have the birth, it's always skin to skin. It's having that moment with your partner. It's lovely, it's beautiful, it's peaceful. Yeah. And then from the child being snatched, to medically get looked
I mean,
at
I
because of an
did
emergency.
get a small hole before they took her away.
Oof, it was still scary though, wouldn't it?
And yeah.
How was the mum? Was she scared as well? Did you comfort her or?
Yeah, we comforted each other. She was scared.
Oh.
I mean, obviously that relationship didn't work out, but we did have nice moments. There's not
you
all
do.
doom and gloom.
Of course you do.
So obviously that night we were very much for each other and looking after each other.
Yeah.
That's
important.
Want to put you into a bad place.
No, I'm mature enough to be, it's important. The child is both of your priority.
And I learned a lot from that night, because after that night I decided that every time I have a baby, I'm going to take a picnic with me. If you've got a wife or a partner who's pregnant right now and might be about to have babies, take a picnic in with you if it's your first. Honestly, you will thank me. Because they are starving afterwards.
To be honest, my ex was terrible. Like I would be in full on contractions with my firstborn Leo, and I'd be in agony, and then he'd be sitting in the chair going, "Oh, my back aches," and I'm like having full blown contractions. So I'm like, "Get out of the room.
Oh.
Get yourself some painkillers and get out of the room. Don't complain to me."
I'll tell you something. I felt dead bad for my ex when she gave birth, because I went downstairs to find a food. She said she's starving.
Yeah.
So I went downstairs to find a food. The cafe's closed. Everything's closed. The shop's got the last stale dry sandwiches on the shelf, and I needed food. She needed food.
You did not just feed her stale bread.
I didn't want to, but there was nothing open.
At McDonald's.
No, I can't just go to McDonald's when she's just given birth. She needs
yes,
food
you
now.
do.
No,
you
I didn't even drive at that point.
Give that woman a McDonald's.
I didn't even drive at that point. I was the only one there. So I went down to the shop and I grabbed these two horrible dry sandwiches. And honestly, it's probably like the worst sandwich I've ever eaten. But she basically inhaled the whole damn thing.
Yeah, because the adrenaline of hunger. Yeah. It's like when we had Ragnar and I literally just gave birth.
Maltesers.
It was the midwife. It was a student midwife, and I felt absolutely horrible. As soon as I gave birth, I raided. There was a packet of Maltesers sticking out of a bag, and all of a sudden I had this sudden urge to I need to eat something. I've been in labour for hours. I've just given birth. I need to eat something now.
What she's not telling you is it's a home birth, and because I've learnt my lesson by this point, I'm in the kitchen, because like literally this living room here, this floor right here is where they've been born. She's sitting on the couch with baby. I'm in the kitchen cooking her a steak, and she's stealing the midwife's freaking Maltesers. I'm like, got a steak for you, babe.
I apologised while I was eating.
That's the only time
the midwife was like, "It's okay." I was like, "I'm so sorry."
The only time I've ever seen her eat the fat off a steak.
Yeah, cause I just had a human come out of my fudge. Of course, it's gonna be, the energy. It's like a primal instinct. It's amazing. It's pretty cool. It's awesome. It's a beautiful moment. And yeah. So your second pregnancy, you would say, with your other son, with your ex, was quite normal. Would you say it was quite easy? Or?
No, it was harder. So Saren was done without an epidural.
Oh.
And this is purely my opinion based on what I've seen. People can tell me I'm wrong, but Saren was done without an epidural, and there was some issues triggering the pregnancy, because basically we'd had a water leak.
Mm-hmm.
So the waters had leaked out as opposed to burst, and we didn't know that they were gone, and then there was an emergency induction. But we didn't have the epidural, and once the induction kicked in, it took a couple of hours. Whereas Alex, this time she wanted the epidural, fair enough.
I don't blame her.
She went with the epidural.
Completely agree.
And that became, I think it was close to 12 hours of labour. And that was essentially because she can't feel anything down there. She didn't know that her bladder was full, and she didn't have that sensation to wee.
Yeah.
And it took a very old, very wise old nurse to come in and tell the midwives, you need to drain her bladder, otherwise the baby's never going to come out. Because they were talking about doing a C-section, doing this, that and the other. And all it came down to was draining the bladder. And that was quite a horrific sort of birth.
Oh no.
I mean, Alex came out fine, she was fine after, but it actually seemed more painful, more uncomfortable, and a lot worse than not having the epidural.
Was she in pain when she was pushing?
But for enough different places.
Oh shit.
Afterwards, the side effects lasted longer.
See, when I had my epidural, the first time I had it, again I had a bladder issue with Leo, but it was after the fact. I couldn't control my bladder because I was on the epidural for so many hours, for too much, I didn't know when to push. Again, I tore with my firstborn. I ripped down there, and again, I had an issue with my bladder, so I had to stay for a further 24 hours for them to make sure that I can wee myself, and knowing that I wee myself, because when I stood up after I gave birth to Leo, urine just fell out of me. It was not pleasant. So when I was pushing initially with the epidural, I didn't feel pain, but I have heard other stories from other women out there that they've still felt the pain even when they've had the epidural. They felt half of the body and half the pain.
Yeah, I think it's more like, as opposed to where you expect to feel it happens further up, from what I could understand. Obviously, I'm not going through it. And the after effects were a lot longer than they were with Saren. And then the easiest birth I've seen was our son Ragnar,
Home birth.
which was a home birth, water birth, and the position's different. You do it in a crouch position.
Right there. Guys, if you need to know, in the corner, right there.
Was this floor spot here?
Oh, okay, so it was right
here.
here.
We had a couch there, we had a couch here.
I've got a picture of it.
Basically, where she's sitting now is more or less where she gave birth.
Where I had my son in a pool, and my sister was like, with the pans of hot water, like, fill it with hot water, my sister's gonna give birth. And then it was too hot, and then my sister was like, oh my backs are out, everything was out, dignity out the window. Yeah, but my sister's seen my second birth anyway, so it was nothing different from my sister. But she came in with like pans of cold water going, she's overheating, the midwife was going, we need to put cold water in the blooming pot pool so she doesn't overheat. So she started throwing that, and then it was like, right, push. But
out of the 3 births I've seen, that was the easiest. And I think, I don't know how you feel about that, but I think you kind of agreed that was easier than...
Yeah, so with when, from a woman's perspective, who's given birth 3 times, I've had 3 kids now, both of them being epidural. Honestly, the second one was quite embarrassing because I couldn't feel anything. I didn't know when to push. The midwife was getting quite angry at me and going, push. I was like, I'm pushing. And she's telling me, you're not pushing. So she told me to, while I was pushing with the epidural, shout. And I'm like, but I'm not in pain. Yeah, but shout. Push and shout, and you'll have the baby. So I started shouting and pushing from what I thought I was pushing. And I screamed really loud, and she was like, all right, stop shouting that loud. I'm like, but you've just told me. And my sister was like looking at the midwife going, you just told her to shout, which it worked. It did work. But in comparison with the aftercare, I tore twice. One with my firstborn, then my second. But when I had my third, I didn't even tear. I was on that couch over there where my husband's sitting now. Checked down there and was like, you are fine. There was just a graze, and that's it. You're fine. So I would highly recommend.
And he wasn't a little baby. Like, he came out and he was half the size.
It was £10, wasn't he? £9 or £10?
He was, I think it was £10.
£10.
But I was looking at him like, where were you even keeping him inside? You're like looking at this
in my spine.
Very short, very petite little woman, and this massive baby. It was like an ogre baby.
Well, thanks for calling our son an ogre.
He's a good looking ogre.
My sister walked in when he gave birth, and she walked into this front room and was like, looked over in the pool and said, that's not a newborn, and walked back out. And I'm like, thank you. The carers were going, what's going on? Is Clara okay? It was just like, everyone was bopping in because, again, I have carers with my son. So
I think we got the conception date wrong, and I think he was a couple of weeks late. And my mum came in later that day and said the exact same thing. She's like, that's not a newborn. Where's the newborn? Like, he looked like 6 months old. He looked like a very well developed baby, and he was already lifting his head. He did not look like a baby newborn.
They did say his skin was quite dry and cracked,
which is a sign of a bit of a
too long
in.
Well, he's 10 days over.
Yeah,
he was 10 days over the due date.
He is 2 weeks over then, but I think he was longer than that.
Don't scare me. He was meant to be born on Halloween. The contraction started and then it stopped.
And then just stopped. It
was not pleasant. So, again, reeling it back and more back on topic with being a dad.
No one wants to hear that.
It is very important, and I'm sure people out here would like to hear that from other dynamics, to not make them feel like they're the only ones out there who struggled, or men who are out there who are single dads. Don't feel alone. He is a very perfect advocate for this. So, because honestly, you're an inspiration with what you've taken on. You've not only took on 2 beautiful children of your own, you've also took on 2 extras, which, again, I'd like to ask, what's being a stepdad like to a child like Leo
Difficult.
specifically? So when you first met me, though, what was your first impressions?
So when we first met, we were dating.
Yeah.
And it was one of them. There was no. We're definitely going to make this work. There was the let's see how this is going to happen because
steps.
I had a difficult situation going through some stuff I don't want to go into.
Yeah.
And my wife had a difficult situation with her ex, which
I don't mind going into it. I have no.
which my ex will go into when she's ready. And she had a difficult situation, obviously having a terminally ill child.
On top of that.
On top of it. So basically, we both knew that, it could fall apart based on too much stress on either of us.
Yeah.
Now, she gave me an out at this point. We had gone round to hers because she was spending a lot of time in Manchester. So on the weekends, I would try and see her when I can, usually on a Friday night after work.
Yeah.
And so we'd gone round, ordered a pizza, and she broke down crying because basically she'd been given the January date of that's going to be the end of it, and this is November, isn't it, or is this?
It was around November. I was told he was going to die by Manchester Hospital, that he doesn't have long to live, and then later in the year he won't be here. He won't survive.
So this is November 2016.
Yeah.
And basically we've been told, well, you've been told January. It's not going to make it past January.
Yeah, because he declined so quick when he got bed. It was this is around the time where he was 5 months in being just ventilated on a vent life support machine, and he kind of did well for a few months, and then he started drooping down, even when he was on the 2 weekly treatments. This is Leo with the infantile Pompe disease, just to let you know.
So anyway, Cara told me that if I wanted to leave, she'd understand, and I said no, I'm going to stick around. I'm with you. I'm going to support you, and we're just going to see how this goes, and we're going to try our best to be together.
Mm-hmm.
If the stress is too much in the moment, then we'll take the test and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And yeah, well,
we liked each other's company too much, didn't we? Really,
we did. We were helping each other out a lot with what's going on, and then there's also with a lot of positive stuff.
We took our mind away from that stress. I think that's what really helped at the beginning of the relationship. We're able to pull ourselves out of our type of, I would say, not to sound harsh, baggage on both sides and stresses, and we were able to come together to distract ourselves.
Yeah. So that was a lot to take on. Obviously, I'd be lying if I said I didn't question whether I should stick around or not. I think it's a sensible thing to go.
Yeah.
Am I going to be strong enough for this if it happens?
Yeah.
Given it's such a fresh, because like we weren't dating that long at that point. It wasn't like we were years into it. We were a couple of months into things.
Yeah.
So it would have been. I wouldn't judge anyone for walking away from that in a couple of months.
No.
But obviously stuck
Well,
around.
Fine.
Stuck around. We're not going to go into that story, are we? Anyway, so I stuck around, and obviously Leo, we're almost a decade on, almost.
Yeah, we are.
Close to, anyway.
Yeah.
And he's still here. I'd say probably about 4 or 5 times in the years we've been together, we've been told he's got a year left to live. So it's almost a yearly occurrence.
There's another question as well I'd like to ask you. How would you feel, because being stepdad, you're not only a dad, but you're a stepdad, have you been betrayed by other people? So like doctors, health professionals, because again, Leo has a lot of health professionals. Being a stepdad, is that a stigma?
No,
would you say?
But sometimes I feel like it puts me in a weak position. So first off, because of what the ex does, if I go up and say I'm dad, there is a panic moment, and I have to explain, no, I'm stepdad, give the family password, and ask them to, if they're still in doubt, ask them to call ahead to Cara.
Yeah.
Because honestly, he would just be escorted out of a children's hospital.
Because of the crime against children.
Well, that's, yeah.
I'm not afraid to say it.
I know.
I will not say his name, but I am fed up of staying quiet with what he is. So
in some ways, like, I can never just call myself dad because of what he's done. I have to kind of protect my reputation against who he is. He's not been involved the whole time I've been here.
No, he's not. He's not ever been involved, and I don't want him involved. And it broke down when I was in hospital with Manchester, when I was just seeing my husband, Adam. It's basically when it all it just broke down, really, didn't it? And
Yeah.
contact was pretty much.
That's one stigma, is I have to make sure it's clear who I am to Leo and that
Yeah.
I am not this person.
Yeah.
The other thing I struggle with is office, the people who manage our care team, they will use it against me in a way of they expect me to do everything a dad would do, but the way they're supposed to be there and support a family, they try and go, well, you're not really family, so when I'm not going to help you or support you in any of those ways.
Yeah.
So they want me to give it all without backing me up, and that's not all of them. There are good people in the team.
There are amazing people in office, but there are people in office that we know that will like
There's-
drop his side of the children, ditch them for Leo, and it's like
yeah.
no. But then sometimes when it comes to serious situations, you go, yeah, but the mum outweighs you, so no. So they contradict themselves quite a lot with his PR. He should have PR. He's pretty much been there since day one.
I mean,
but it's very
to
frustrating.
give a recent example, I was basically called up by a member of the office team and scolded for not being at home when I wasn't supposed to be at home.
Nope.
Cara was supposed to be at home, and she's
I wasn't supposed to be at home. I was supposed to pick up my other two kids from the other
and
two
you were
schools.
supposed to be back by about 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
And I got called up at about 1:45 because I had gone to pick up my kids from their school on my day, and Cara couldn't get hold of Cara for signal or whatever reason.
No, I answered the phone eventually.
Yeah, but you didn't answer the first few calls, so she called me, and I basically got told it's not her problem and I shouldn't be picking up my kids, and that I should be there for her so she can leave, because apparently her day finishes earlier and she was supposed to leave early. It's like, none of this is my problem either. And
oh no, she lied. She lied about she is what pissed me off. She lied about a personal issue that was happening. She told him that she had a personal family issue. When office rang me, they said she's running late for something and you need to hurry back. So we got two different ends of the story, which really frustrated me, which blatantly was a lie. And then when I did turn up, she was all laughing and giggling.
And she stayed till 4:30.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I thought that certain person that you need to go to hospital for is really sick. Why are you staying here until 4:30?
I was back in the house by 4 o'clock. Cara was back in the house by
4:45.
10 to, because I got called at 4:45.
Oh, 10 to
5 minutes
sorry.
after I got a phone call, Cara was back in the house. So it wasn't like a major league issue for her anyway. It was a case of she called me up, and when I basically said there's nothing I could do, she accused me of being aggressive on the phone. I had my daughter sitting next to me, my best mate sitting next to me, who was dropping off at his girlfriend's house, which is on the way home before they'd whinge about that.
Yeah.
It's like, I literally just turned around and was like, am I being aggressive? And they're just like, no.
No. On the phone.
Like,
He put this office member on speaker so the kids can hear everything in the car.
All I'm saying is I can't be there. I have a prior obligation, and you've made me say it 5 times over. Maybe I sound frustrated, but I don't sound aggressive.
But this is what I don't like. I know they're not getting anywhere, specifically with some parents. That is what they'll say, and it's not acceptable.
I think the term is gaslighting. It's like, you're not saying what I want you to say, so I'm going to make you feel bad about yourself.
Yes.
It's like, well, I don't. I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And I'm not there for you right now.
Yeah.
Not my...
Your kids are your priority.
Yeah.
You've got a nice arrangement to see your kids at the time that's been accepted on and what you've agreed to. You have a commitment to your other 2 kids, because that's what you've all agreed to from both parties.
Coming into this relationship, we've always said, the children are my priority. If I come into this, it's got to be a part of who I am.
Well, basically, all the children are both our priorities.
Yeah.
So my responsibility is Leo, Willow, Ragnar, and Seren and Alex. Now, if I can be flexible, I will help Seren and Alex as best as I can if they need me in that moment. But then if Leo needs me, I will have to go, I need to help Leo. And that's when you tag team and go, cool, I've got the other kids, don't stress. That's what teamwork in a marriage is about. Especially from what are we classed as a family? Because it's different. What are these called?
I'm trying to think of the word.
What are we called, guys?
Yeah.
What are we called? Is it?
They used to call it a broken family.
We're not a broken family, no. But that is what we basically would be at a certain point classed as a broken family, which we're not. But
I'm sure we've used this word before. And it's not coming to my head now. I'm put on the spot. But no, I mean we've got each other's backs, and there are obviously, like, in an emergency with Leo, we do change the way we do things.
Yeah.
But in a school run scenario, we don't, and they're supposed to be there to support us and that, and that's not really been happening the last couple of years.
Amazingly, one of my nurses, again, someone in office that I love and respect, and she is the pinnacle of perfect examples of what a nurse should be. She is amazing. She helped me to do a school run with my son Leo because she wanted to know, why is everyone kicking up a fuss? Why is everyone kicking off at Adam? Why are they kicking off at Cara? What's going on?
I think you should explain to them what they expected you to do with Leo so their staff can get away.
That's what I'm going to say. So what the staff wanted to go home early. They finish at 4. So when I didn't turn up at there on point at 3:30, they saw their arse and was like, I'm calling an office now and I'm going to report this parent being negligent. They're actually meant to be there till 4.
But
I have to do a 15-minute walk to 2 school runs. So my son and daughter is in I'm not going to say the name of the school because I'm protecting my kids in this sense, but their school is 1 or 2 minutes apart from each other. So it takes me 15 minutes to walk to the school and then 1 minute to that school and 1 minute to that school. My other son finishes at 3:20 and she finishes at past. So I have to do 2 completely different school pickups, then rush back with a further 15 minutes and be there on time. And I would get there at about 4:45, 3:50 at a push. I would get at that time, and they would be calling an office and they would be like, well, here's how we can fix it. We will shove your terminally ill child. He'll go from school
home early.
So he'll go. No, it's not. It was a mess up of everything. He would go to school, come back early, 2:30, so he's missing out on education. This will add up because I want quality of life from my vented child. I don't want him being horrible term, being bedbound.
Yeah, locked in a room.
Is bedbound and not a quality of life. So I encourage him to go to school. So after that is coming home from school, then going back in a car to then go all the way back up and go do 2 school runs. So Leo's not only done 1 in the morning school run, then he's got to come home, get back in another car and do another school run and then another school run and then come home. That's a lot of effort for a terminally ill child to be running around.
I'd also point out the fact, I've driven it when I'm available. I've driven it, and it's no quicker than walking it because school traffic is a nightmare heading up that way. So they still end up back here about 2:45 or 2:50. It's just as quick walking it.
So I got a nurse to get involved in it, and she witnessed it, and she, God, I love her, but she was sitting there in the car going, I was like, come on. She's like, let's go. And she was like, are you having a laugh? I was like, no, we have to get Leo out, go to this school, and then walk to another school. And she was like, you having a laugh? I'm staying in the car.
Yeah, but the carers like to stay in the car. And then they're on their own for 15 minutes in a car, right? It's easier if he's having a moment to work on him if he's in a bed.
Yeah, well, I came back in after doing the 2 school runs and she was like, this is disgusting. I was like, well, this is what office wanted us to do. She's the boss, she's like the nurse, she's like the most respected nurse, I would say, in office. Yeah. And she was like, this is not acceptable. I was like, if anything happens in this car, it's a confined space, he's in a wheelchair. If I needed to get over back at the vent, it's blocked by these 2 seats either side of his wheelchair. It's just not safe. And she said there's more health and safety risks in the car than it is him lying at home on his bed where he has oxygen, his medical equipment, the space to work on him if he drops his sats. So she tried to contact all the hay and try and resolve the issue because now it's improved, hasn't it? But what were you going to say?
I just want to say, when Cara says she's the boss, the reason why she's not that involved is she's trying to pass on the mantle because she wants to get basically towards retirement now. So she's taken a step back to let other people run it to see how they do, and it's gone terrible. Yeah. I'd say the major issue is there's a lack of empathy. There's a lot of people who've got into that office who've never worked on the ground with these children.
No, what I will say, I'm sorry, that is a goddamn playground in that place because when my son nearly died, and it was due to, I love this also night staff, I nearly lost my son basically to negligence. This staff member didn't check his airway and put the trachea back in. And if it wasn't for me quickly thinking, I would have lost him that day. So we had to do an incident report. And we went to office to have a incident report written. And I turned up in office and I had one nurse right in front of me. They were all like, oh, let's do your statement. And they went in the kitchen. One of them, obviously I'm traumatised at this point. This was the night after. Smacked one in the ass and was joking in front of me. Like, a nurse just went, smacked her on the ass while the other nurse was grabbing to get the milk to make a cup of tea. They're all laughing and I'm like, wow, really professional.
Just
They
almost
took
lost
me,
a child.
I just nearly, and they could have got freaking sued if I'd have lost him. Took me into a room, and all they did was like, right, you tell us everything. They didn't write anything down. They didn't write my side of what happened. They just sat there. I don't want to say the names
But
because
they
I
haven't
don't.
recorded.
But
basically.
they didn't record my statement of what I witnessed, what I experienced of a negligent situation that basically something negligent happened which could have cost his life. Sadly was the case. I do actually get on with this person that it happened to because again we're human and we have a good relationship. She's amazing. She's the best. The only thing that annoyed me was Office. It's not even the person because again,
people make mistakes.
we do. It's just Office. It's like a school ground. She smacked her bum in front of me when I'm like in the kitchen. Like it's like all fun and giggles. I'm like, I'm here to do a statement, an instant report that my son's nearly died, and you guys aren't taking it serious.
Basically, there's a lot of dead weight in that office. There's a lot of good people in the organisation.
Yes, yeah. I'm not gonna say the name.
Yeah, but there's a lot of dead weight in that office. So I feel they've got there without the experience or the empathy of like to be there. And like I think one of the things you need in that job, which the main woman has, is empathy. Leo was in hospital a while ago, and basically, Cara had done the evening shift with the kids because I'd been working. And I was going to take over from about 6 o'clock, and I was supposed to sit there till 10 o'clock when night staff was supposed to come on.
Yeah.
Now this is their mess up. They've said night staff's definitely coming.
Yeah.
And I get to about 20 past 10. I'm like, I'm still here. Where's this person? And Office finally get back to us about 10:30 and go, oh well, they're not coming because we messed up the rotor. I'm like, at this point I've been up since 6 a.m. and I've been out doing, like I'm a gardener, so I've been out working outside all day, and I'm supposed to now sit there until 10 a.m. tomorrow when Cara can get back to the hospital because we've got no staff tomorrow either. So they're getting money for this contract but not fulfilling it, which is annoying in itself.
Yeah.
But I don't mind covering the odd shift because of sickness or whatever. But when we called on the call staff and basically said, well, I'm going to basically be doing a 24-hour run here with no sleep. I've got to stay awake the full time with this child. Otherwise, if something happens in the night and he dies, someone will be at fault.
Yeah.
And on-call staff thing was, well, if I come and work a night for you, I can't work a night for someone else.
Can I just explain this? He was in hospital at this point. So when all this happened and that they refused to be left alone, the hospital refused to be left alone with Leo.
Yeah, they can't deal with his cares. You need training.
Did you see how that bad sounds, guys? That's really bad.
So I'm sitting there doing a 24-hour run with no sleep and have to go back to Wales in the morning to finish the job off. And it's one of those landscaping jobs where if you don't go and finish it off, it will cock it up and you will have to do it again.
Yeah.
So it was one of them. I had to go back. Fortunately, my brother-in-law drove me to Wales in the morning, but you can't just ask a family member, can you drive
But
me?
the thing is, we did raise these concerns to Office at that point, going, you feel comfortable my husband driving a car when he's not slept in over 24 hours with my children in the back of the car so he can go back home and go back to work. That is a danger. And they were like, well, if I'm needed somewhere else to do a night shift this weekend, I can't because I've covered your night. And it's like, it's not the point then. What is your point? What is your legal point?
There is no point in on-call. Literally, they won't cover anyone in case they have to cover someone else. Like, well, no, what you should do is you should have a backup. You should have, if you cover a night, then someone else should have to come on the on-call.
Yeah, someone from Office should be like, if you call in sick, it should be the same thing as like, if that Office member is meant to be on call for that weekend and they go, oh, Nick, I can't do this weekend, someone's gonna have to take over my on-call because then it should go both ways, vice versa, when you have to last minute emergency cover a shift that you have messed up. It's not like the staff member was sick, we are okay with that, we'll cover that, it's whatever, it's life.
Actually, they put the staff member somewhere else and was supposed to put someone else on that shift.
No, they didn't update. What happened was they were like, yeah, we'll move that shift, but then didn't update the system, forgot about it, and was like, yeah, that person's still there, I'm sure they are, but really, they moved them somewhere else, and it was just like, cool, so you didn't care to think. But it's just
basically, without, with the boss not being there, these people who are gearing up to take over left a vulnerable, disabled child in a dangerous situation, left a parent who they're supposed to be aiding in a dangerous situation, and left the children of that family in a dangerous situation.
The need social worker for children like Leo was not happy, wasn't she?
Well, no,
She
but
is amazing.
there's still been no resolve.
No.
I still feel like there needs to be some resolve. There needs to be clarity of what on-call staff's actual duties are.
Yeah.
And if their only duty is to tell you to call an ambulance in an emergency situation, if there's an emergency happen, I'm not calling somebody to ask if I should call an ambulance. I'm calling an ambulance.
I'm sorry, but if the right person that we know and we respect, I'm not going to say her name.
I know
if she was on, she has solved issues when she's been on call. Like there was a moment with a SATS monitor for a week. We had a often on working SATS monitor, and she was like on the phone going, "Why hasn't this been sorted?" She sent a taxi from the hospital to send a SATS monitor to this house. It took her 2 seconds, where it took Office a week to actually.
And they still went.
Make the motivation to actually help, but they don't. Office don't like us now because we've stood up for ourselves, because I've stood up for myself and not just been a people pleaser, basically. So now I'm.
Well, Office is supposed to sort out medical equipment, and they've had you going to the hospital to pick up
EBME going, why is there a parent in EBME?
Yeah. So basically parents aren't supposed to go there because obviously that's happened in the past, and then parents who no longer have children have gone there and taken equipment they shouldn't have taken.
That's not insured for. They again, another contradictory thing. They want us to run around and get up like stock stalls for Office to drop off at our house.
They want me to cancel jobs and work to do this for them. It's like, well, then I don't earn money.
We can't afford. We went on the attack because of how Office scrutinise you as being a stepfather. They try and discount you for when you say, I don't know, you disagree with them. They go, oh.
Or your opinion doesn't matter, and nor do your children, because they're not Leos.
I've sadly had to witness that. And I know what man he is, and he's a brilliant man.
It's even down to the car. I asked to get a couple of extra seats in Leo's car so we didn't have to have 2 cars and we could go out places as a family. They said, oh, it'll cost you $2,000 extra. I said, let me talk to my dad and see if I can get a loan.
Yeah.
And they said, no, we're not going to do that. So now we have to go everywhere in 2 cars, which means Cara, because she doesn't drive, needs a carer who drives to get Leo out.
Yeah.
And I need to go in a separate car with 2 of the children. Otherwise, we can't go out as a family. Yeah. Whereas if we had just put probably 3 extra seats in the car because we need a seat for a carer, then we could all go in 1 vehicle.
So
and it's just like, why are you even objecting to this? I'm offering to find the funds to pay the extra money for the extra seats.
Yeah.
You know, but it just seems arsey.
So, another experience of what you've witnessed of our type of dynamic, being a stepfather to Leo, what was the most like tense moment you've witnessed? Like, you've seen Leo's have his blips. What would you say was the most
tense moment?
You know, being a dad.
For me, or what I've witnessed outside of me?
For you, both.
So what I've witnessed outside of me was, he touched on this a bit before, that carer who really went initially were putting the complaint against, but not actually angry with officers dealing with it. That moment, I came downstairs, you came downstairs, the bell up and rang. Now it's close to breakfast time, so the kids have woke up for breakfast. I walked into that room and honestly I thought that's the end. That was very tense. He looked gone, and honestly if Cara hadn't have been there, he probably would have been gone.
Yeah.
All I could do was get the kids breakfast, and that's a really strange thing to be doing when all you can think is in the next room what's going on is.
Well, I was screaming and like, yeah. He said he'd never heard a person scream.
I've never heard you scream that loud, and that was
dead.
Scary. But I didn't believe that he could come back from that.
His eyes were open.
His eyes were open. His skin was grey,
and he was looking through me. You know, he had an open jaw.
I've got a toddler asking me for Weetabix, and it's just really surreal. And
my daughter walked in that situation, saw her brother in that state, and was like, "Can I have cereal?" Obviously, was hearing me scream. And then
deal with that.
Yeah, to reassure
in the nicest possible way when everything seems to just be falling apart.
But this is our dynamic. This is what we.
And then, to be honest, any time I have to deal with office is really tense because it's never clear if I'm going to be received. It's like recently when I was doing those, like, cause obviously like that wasn't the only night shift I've done with Leo.
Yeah.
And when he was in hospital, we just had no staff for some reason, so I did a lot of shifts in hospital, a lot of evenings, a lot of nights. And then would go to work. and it was horrific. But that's not even the most tense part. The most tense part is having someone come in and question whether you can actually care for a child you've looked after for almost a decade, because they don't see you looking after them until you're in that situation.
Yeah.
It's like you got people going, have you done this, and it's like,
Oof.
I've looked after this child for almost 10 years. Just because you don't see it, you know, who do you think helps Cara on these night shifts? Do you think I just leave her to do it all? It's like we tag team.
Yeah.
She does a bit, I do a bit. Usually if I do a night shift, she wakes up about 6 and lets me go to bed a bit early.
Yeah.
And then the staff come in at 7:30, so they don't always see me, and they just go,
yeah, they just assume I've done it and I haven't.
You just Cara's done it all. And even when she tells them that I've done it, half of them don't believe her.
No.
And I'm treated very lazily, so it's very tense when someone's looking at you like, do you actually know what you're doing? It's like,
or it's been when I've been on the phone, I've gone, oh, Adam's done the shift, and they've gone, what? I was like, yeah, he's trachea trained, he's vent trained, you do know, yeah, but did he? Yeah, he's done the night. What are you gonna do? We can't do fuck all.
I mean, we're pretty close to 50-50. You probably do a little bit more than me, but that's because
that's fine.
I work through a lot of days and stuff, so it's, you know.
But the thing is, I can focus on Leo, and the thing is that I love about our marriage is he'll go, cool, I'll just cook nice dinner for the kids and distract them, put something on.
Yeah.
And he'll do that side, so I can go, cool, I can solely do his physio, his cough assist, his pad, and he can do all the rest of the kids.
Anyway, I had a few nights of this, like, people like shocked and judging me and asking me if I'd done everything correctly. And then one of the nice carers came in, and I kind of snapped her a bit, and I didn't mean to, because she was basically like, oh, you've done a lot of these recently, you must be getting very confident. And she didn't mean it in a nasty way.
No, she meant
She's
it
actually in a nice way.
Yeah.
And I just kind of went, who do you think does it when Cara's too tired, or when she's been doing 2 nights in a run?
Yeah.
And like, it came across really arsey, and it was like, I was tired, and I'd heard it a lot from people.
But you're human.
Yeah.
You are
I did apologise to her. I was like, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I do things, and it just seems like everybody who's walked into this room is like, why are you here?
Yeah. What?
Is Leo alive?
Dear God, he should be dead by now. Is he dead? What's happened?
I've pretty much,
is the mum dead?
No, what I don't do nappies of older children. Once they're out of nappies,
Typical bloke.
I can't deal with adult crap. So yeah, then I will ask the nurse to come in and change the nappy when I'm in hospital.
Honestly, I'm gonna sound again. I think I've got one final question to this. About 2, I think. Our experience with our children in our household, we've just discussed about the emergency. So what about, would you say, have you noticed, because we've only now just started to figure out and learn about our daughter she's been recently diagnosed with ADHD, but we think it's /trauma. Because
there's some trauma in there. I think all the children in this household have some trauma. I don't think, that's not to say we're bad parents, it's to say things have happened.
We just give you an example of our daughter walking in to her brother dead, and her being later on going, what have you done to my brother? She was about 4 years old, and then it was that day the school said, she's angry, we don't know why, it's not her personality. So we immediately got her counselling. She was on the Elsa project, so to help her with her emotions. So we instantly informed the school what had happened, so they were in the loop, so they could help her, support her, because that is also a priority. She has been diagnosed with ADHD. Now, we don't know if it's a mix of, obviously we do know it's a mix of, as what they class as. Your mum brought it to me this weekend, and I'm doing a little bit of research on it, as our children are classed as glass children. So it's siblings that live with a sick sibling, or a dying sibling, or a sick parent, and the trauma and the
all that comes with it.
Yes.
I also think my children, and probably the children in this household, also suffer from the fact that, you know, me and my ex haven't always been amicable, so they've known their parents to split up and basically not be friends with each other, which has been quite hard on them.
Yeah.
So we've worked on, and we're doing better in recent years.
Yeah, we've gotten really good. It's been really good.
It's amicable.
But would you say with Willow's ADHD, you know, being a dad, experienced that, how would you feel?
I don't think she's that bad. She does some pretty basic stuff, which can be testing, with shouting and screaming at you, and obviously, small person shouting and screaming at you is quite frustrating when you're just trying to tell them, you know, you just need to get your coat on so we can go out or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Or take your game
it's
off.
one of them. I just feel like, right, my head's going, mum's turn, and then we'll tap back in a moment.
Yeah, but we get down to her level, we try and reassure her and explain, you know, it's okay to be angry, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's not okay to shout at people and
one
be
thing
aggressive
that can annoy me is because we've done it in the past where we've given her fidget things to help her manage her emotions.
Yeah.
Sometimes she goes, well, I need this, otherwise I can't talk to you. It's like, that's not good enough.
Through mid telling off. So if she's done something naughty, she's hit a brother or done something naughty, and then she goes, no, I need my fidget toy now. It's like, we're trying to explain to her.
No, you're listening to me, you're not shouting at me, you're not screaming at me, you do not need a fidget toy right now.
The fact that she has control to go, right, I'm not angry now, and now I want my fidget toy. It's like, well, okay, you've just proven to us you can control your anger. You've just done that right now to get that fidget toy.
You don't need that fidget toy. What you need to do is listen to why you're in trouble and then go and apologise for why you're in trouble.
Which is why I think some of it's trauma based. If she knows she can.
Some of it's trauma based, but some of it's not a case of that's not trauma. That's knowledge of how to try and get out of an uncomfortable situation. She's uncomfortable because she's embarrassed because she's being told off and she's looking for an out.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't want to be told off right now, so I'll say I need this and hopefully this will get me out of it. It's like, no, Willow, this is why you've been naughty. Now go and apologise to your brother.
But she's nowhere near as bad as raising a child with ADHD / you know, a hard time that they've all gone through, haven't they, with the Leo pressures, because again, there's been times where when we were dealing with that hospital situation, the kids were getting dragged at 10 o'clock at night just to pick me up from hospital to cover a shift that was office meant to cover.
Yeah, people to pick you up and then you'd have to get a taxi back with them.
Yeah.
Or I'd have been in work and I'd have to go collect them from hospital, take them for tea and then come back later with them to take you home.
The taxi wasn't as easy. We'd stand outside the school and we'd be standing there with the rain pouring on us for about an hour waiting for this taxi to take us to the hospital, and the kids were having breakdowns.
There was a handful of times when I was finishing work at about 5:30 and you were still waiting for a taxi and I was like, I'll just take you to the hospital. And the carers were finishing late and it's like, why is office not just covering these shifts?
Because the children are drenched. They now need to go in a spare pair of clothes, because if they're going to stay there till 10 o'clock at night to cover your shift, they're not sitting around in their school uniform drenched.
Yeah,
so but they backed off then, because I gave them that get lost.
I'll get there when I get there.
Yeah, you tell the carers, you deal with that backlash, and the carers half the time they're like, yeah, it's crap, but it's fine. All in all, being a dad, what would you find the most satisfying side of being a dad?
Most satisfying side.
Yeah. What was the what's the most best things that you would say that you've enjoyed being a dad so far?
A nice glass of whiskey and a steak. No,
that's nothing to do with fatherhood.
Things I've enjoyed about being a dad.
Yeah.
I mean, they're my best mates. I love them. With me, and she requires a lot of dad attention. Some of that's to do with our past.
Yes.
Obviously, I have to be there for her.
What I will say and compliment a lot, which a lot of women complain about, he does the night feeds. When I've had a kid twice, oh my god, he's a saint. He does all the night feeds. Like, I've never met a man with my previous partner. I did everything myself. Since I met you, he was like, I'll do the night feeds. Well, I'll do this. I'll help you.
It's one of those satisfying things. I was like those moments where you get to bond with your children. So,
yes.
Going back to Sarah and my firstborn, we started off. Mum wanted to do breastfeed only all the way, and at first that was going on for a little bit, and then it was becoming a bit tiring and a bit too much.
Which it is hard.
So I just went, well, half and half it. I mean, I'll do some feeds, you do some feeds, you know, she can half breast, half formula, we'll figure it out. So started doing that, and I basically got to the point where Karen would wake up more or less. Originally it was a couple of times a night, and then as she got a bit older, it was just, she'd more or less wake up at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh.
So I would wake up with her, give her a bottle, and I would put on CBBS as it was starting. And this is why I love the show Dougie. I don't care, any judgment, stickity stick is a jam. But
stick.
But I put on that.
There was a toy there that the kids you wouldn't buy for.
I would just literally fall asleep.
I will add it in this video.
Sitting on my sort of chest.
At the end of the video.
Yeah. As she got a bit older, that was the bottle feed stopped, but then she'd still wake me up at 5, 6 in the morning. we go down, put CBBS on, and she got to this point where she just like decided she wanted my t-shirt, so I come down and she just pointed at my t-shirt with a dummy in her mouth, and I was like, at first I was like, what? And then
How
she'd
cute.
start tugging on it, so I was like, okay, so put it on, and she'd wear it like a little dress. I'd just fall asleep on the couch, and she'd just sit on me watching like Dougie or Octonauts or whatever was on CBBS, and I just yeah, it was just lovely.
She was like, hey Dad, you're wrapped around my finger, you can do this.
Yeah.
Give me this,
So
I am your princess. You will listen to me right now.
She was my princess, it just came to his finger. I was like, but they all did it for a little bit, like
of course they did.
Willow did
Alex
it,
did
Alex
it,
did it,
Ragnar
Ragnar
did
did it. You know, they all used to wake me up because they'd be like, yeah, he'll put the cartoons on, and then he'll just sleep, and then we'll wake him up when we're hungry.
So would you say as a whole, that is one of the most treasured memories you've had with all the children?
Yeah.
Is that nice little
there was a nice memory where there's a photograph somewhere where I'm sitting on a sofa and like Willow's a baby, Seren's there, Alex is there. I'm trying to drink a cup of tea and they've all decided they're gonna sit on me.
I've done that in a previous video. I've uploaded that picture, but yes.
So there's that picture. It's like that close bond where the kids basically like always want to be around me. It's a bit sad at the moment because Alex he likes his space and his distance and he's not as cuddly as he used to be.
He's autistic.
But you know, take as it comes. He is Alex. He still cares.
He does.
But yeah, it's like all that closeness and that like, you know, love and respect and like trust. I mean, yeah, we like one thing Alex still does and he still insists on, which absolutely exhausts the hell out of me, is dragon fights. So basically I will pretend to be this monster, this dragon, chase them around and they'll all just jump on me and play pile on and try and beat me up, and every now and again I'll just pick one of them up and start tickling them. But they absolutely laugh their heads off and they love every minute of it.
Yeah, that's my time to make a cup of tea and actually chill out because the kids are mauling the dad.
Secretly I'm asleep on the floor, they just don't know. Power of a sleeping dad.
Honestly, I don't mean to stroke your ego or anyone's ego, but I've never met such a perfect, in my opinion, a perfect example of what a man and a dad should be. I've never had that far, like, kind of figure kind of thing, especially for my children. With my ex, I've not had that kind of father figure for any of the kids. Meeting you, I mean, geez, just golden ticket.
I mean, it's the, I mean, right now, the kids, the music tastes, they're all taken after whatever I listen to, aren't they?
Punk.
Yeah.
Punk and metal. Limp Bizkit. Yeah. So it's a really nice light-hearted end to this video of, again, the stigma, but then the positives outweigh the stigma.
I don't really think we've touched on the stigma too badly there.
No, not too badly, and because we're only explaining our side of our situation.
I mean, one thing I do hate.
Oh. You said hate.
Yeah, I do. It's
we did say negative stuff because we talked about office drama.
There's an advert not too long ago, and it really annoyed me that they said this. Is the term weekend dad? Now, I absolutely believe that.
You had that with court.
I did. I actually had one person come on and try and tell me that I don't actually care about my children. I'm just doing this to annoy the mother, and that I won't even bother seeing them after court. I was like, that's a really horrible thing to be told by someone who's supposed to be a professional.
Yeah. It's not professional.
But she also messed up and kind of messed up with the judge, and basically I got the agreement because of that person's mess up that I wanted anyway. So
yeah, the judge was like,
never read anything.
Yeah, the judge was like, you haven't even read anything.
I said it.
You said it?
No, I knew what she was going to say. I let her go in there, and she said all this stuff, and I went, yeah. So basically, all you've done is read
the first highlight,
the first line of what my ex is claiming, but not this, and this, and this, where it basically contradicts what she's saying. He said, well, you haven't put that in your statement. It's like, no, I have. If you read the several statements in front of you, all of the contradictions will be in there,
which the judge
which she has admitted to.
Yeah.
And therefore, none of that's relevant.
And the judge was like, agreed with you, and was like, yeah.
The judge basically turned around and went, okay, we're going to do it like this for the next 3 months. And if no further objections are raised to the courts, then from this date, it will go to Mr. Dobbs's terms, which I should have asked for more in that moment. I didn't, and I regret that. But I basically, at that point, had every weekend, so there wasn't much to whinge about.
This was in 2017. Things have improved since 2017. We have more time, and this has been perfect.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
still
I
lovely.
would still prefer it more 50-50. I think when partners break up, the default should be 50-50.
It should be.
And then only if something can be concrete proven should it go away from 50-50.
That the dad is unwilling
Yeah.
to be a father figure to the
Yeah,
children.
I mean,
yeah.
like if someone
Like
doesn't,
my situation.
yeah, like your situation.
I actually do have a
Or if
deadbeat.
one of the parents don't want to be 50-50, if one of the parents say, do you know what, I want to give up some of my time, that is up to them as an
What is a
individual.
deadbeat? What?
I said, if one of the parents want to give up some of their time, that is up to them as an
Yeah.
individual. But as a rule of thumb, if neither parent can agree on anything, the judges should just say,
Automatically.
right, you're on 50-50.
50-50,
You can
shut up.
choose how it is, or I will decide how your 50-50 is split.
Yeah, and it'll purposely do it so you both are like
Yeah.
don't like it, which suck it up because you can't be mature enough to have that conversation.
I hate the term weekend dad. I'm not a weekend dad because even when my other 2 children aren't here, I've got 3 children in the house.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if I could have them more often, I would have them all more often. If I could have them all the time, I would.
Yeah.
I know I'd never cut mum out because they love her and
That's an
you know,
unconditional love.
they
You
have the
can't-
right to that access. But
Yeah.
if I was given, the option, obviously I would want them all the time.
Of
I mean,
course.
no parent could say they wouldn't.
No.
I love the bones of them. But at the same time, I would never deny them what they want or what they deserve, and that is access to their other
Both parents.
You know,
They have a
that's
right.
what a good parent should be about.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I hate this idea that, sometimes in family courts it just feels like mum's right and whatever mum says is what we're going to do. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why in men the suicide rate is 3-1. I feel like very strongly a lot of men I've spoken to, because I'm volunteering with a men's mental health charity right now, but I've gone through my own therapy for past events and past things that have happened to me, and I feel very much that the 3-1 figure and feeling like being there myself in the past is very much to do with taking the children away from their fathers, especially when it feels hopeless.
You had an experience and you spoke to a dad who just lost, and he not long took his life, didn't he?
Yeah, so I'm on a couple of dads groups online, and the Americans have it worse than us Brits when it comes to family courts. They really do. But basically, I was speaking to a couple of people online, and one of them just couldn't take it anymore and disappeared. And a few weeks later, it came out on the dads group that he'd taken his own life because basically he hadn't seen his kids in almost 2 years, and he'd just got another delay. And it's like, that's a very real pain. I mean,
Vile.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
vile.
want to go into my situation, but I did some time about my children, and that was a very. I think if I didn't have the family I have now, I don't know where I would be.
This is what I feel like is important to talk about this stuff, because it is about this channel is about family dynamics. The Dobbs family, he is a Dobbs, and not only living with a terminally ill child, we've got these other situations that we have with each child is different, unique, and has different situations that me and my husband have to adapt to and work with as a marriage, as a family. And we feel like talking about our experiences, sharing our experiences, will hopefully help other families out there, inspire them, or ask us questions on this channel. And that's what this whole thing's about. Some of my episodes are about Pompe disease, the technicalities of it all, the more in-depth research, which is currently what I'm working on at the moment, my experience as a mother, as well as fathers, going through these turbulent situations, which I will expand more on. But this is what this channel is for. It is a safe space for families like us, because we do feel scrutinised, we do feel judged, don't we, as male and female, mother to a sick child, we do get scrutinised, and fathers get scrutinised, women get scrutinised for even just how they parent, for different parenting styles. We all get scrutinised, and I don't want this channel to be that type. Thank you for listening to this video.